It's always a pleasure to speak for Tomsk and to speak at your wonderful conference. So I would like to share my my screen. Let's see if I can get to my PowerPoint. Can you see it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm still trying to get friendly with the Zoom, and always gives me some hard time sometimes. We all, experience those technical challenges. Hopefully today we will have none. So I guess my topic today will be to summarize the experience we had with COVID in the last few months and take a look at what my university and what universities across the United States have done, and what type of challenges we have experienced, and what type of solutions we have found. So I think it's kind of thought-provoking and might be raising some interesting questions for us to discuss later. So obviously, the entire pandemic situation became quite a surprise for all of us starting in March. And in my case, it was a blessing because it gave me more time to spend with my family. And of course, because I've already been teaching classes online, it wasn't a surprise to me in particular. However, for students, it was quite challenging. And because lots of our students really, value that on-campus experience, interaction in class, and being able to be part of different clubs and chapters and community organizations like Public Relations Student Society of America, Marketing Club, Journalism Club. So of course, all of these sessions were no longer available. And we as a department and as a college in particular were trying to figure out what's the best way for us to reconcile students' expectations with our objectives for giving them the proper education, because obviously it was a real challenge. So in addition, George Mason as a university had to figure out a plan how to keep not just the students, but their family members, their parents, and also Fairfax residents in good health and good spirits, because Mason always been a hub in the local community in a Fairfax city, which has about 25,000 residents, and Fairfax County is one of the richest counties in the United States. They really thrive from interacting with Mason. So just losing university for a few months or God knows how long is not a solution. So Mason needed a new plan how to build and maintain some healthy community relations during the pandemics. Well, there were several obviously decisions they had to tackle with, and some of them were summarized in this article that just came out recently, and colleagues from Mason been observing experiences from other universities that were trying to deal with the pandemic challenges, and they were also trying to figure out how Mason in particular can respond to those difficult situations. So in essence, they were dealing with several of them. So one of them was how to move courses online without, making students attend and keep the same quality of teaching and learning. How to discourage campus housing in a sense, because there were still a lot of students that were trying to stay on campus, but at the same time they had to transition back home. And not everybody was, in fact, was happy about going back and living with their parents any longer. What to do about the travel, conferences, study abroad. Lots of students, travel and they study overseas. What about visiting professors? What about international research trips? What should we do about those? Closing campus for some services. Obviously, that had to do with a lot of expenses because University in particular hosts a lot of events, including sports events, athletics, basketball, football, different competitions. I mean, all of them had to be either suspended or they had to be canceled altogether. And finally, how do you basically keep the morale and the esprit de corps, in a sense, under this remote working? Because again, it was a challenge for some faculty members, including those who were not really friendly with technology, right? So, so based on their research, and that basically I'm looking at their article in particular, you can easily download it from the internet. So you can tell that about 75 universities implemented all 5 of these recommendations, or all of these 5 steps. So 93 implemented 4 and 98 implemented at least 3. So in general, a lot of universities did a good job across the United States. And in Mason in particular, Mason actually did all 5. So if we compare, for example, Mason to other DC schools, and so Mason technically belongs to Virginia. So schools in Washington, DC had to be closed, and that was a decision by city mayor. So none of the universities stay open. So, but they continue courses online. Well, Mason had to go hybrid simply because it's off the city limits, and also it has ongoing construction. There are lots of construction going on at this point. So they had to continue the hybrid version where most of the classes were taught online, but there were a lot of hands-on lab research and lab practicum had to be still held on campus. And that was obviously done based on student surveys and asking for student permission, because obviously not everybody was happy about this, but there were also a lot of students not happy being stuck 24/7 at home or going back to their parents, right? So basically, those are 5 biggest challenges most universities had to deal with. So in addition, so what Mason did, they were monitoring a lot of COVID-19 data. So those kind of indicators that help the management curb the spread of virus within the university. So basically, they were doing this in real-time format. So if you go to Mason's website, you could see how this information is being updated every day. So, and it's reported like this, for example. So you look at, how many students are positive, how they're active, how many students took test, who tested positive, and so on and so forth. And that pretty much kind of keeps people informed, and the overall impression that the entire situation is under control. So there were several graphs for people who are stats eager and stats savvy and who wanted to know more about what's happening. So I think overall university and media relations in particular, who are publishing lots of documents based on this statistical data, did pretty good job, because in a sense, again, anyone could go there and see what's happening with Mason. And as you can tell, the numbers are really low, and it seems like situation was really under good control, including parents who really had a lot of anxiety, a lot of questions about university, how they're going to handle this. So, which means that they will be relieved letting students go back to classes. So when the pandemic is over. In addition, there were a lot of financial decisions made. So there is a student emergency assistance funding. Lots of students, especially those coming from different underprivileged backgrounds, and students who really needed some financial help. So they had to actually show the proof that they really need this financial help, were allowed to get some financial help from George Mason University, from the foundation. And I have students in my class who actually reached out, and they got this help, which was like really nice. It's not a lot of money we're talking about here, but it helps to overcome some some minor challenges, including those that had to do with moving to a new place, buying some basic appliances and other things. So, so in addition, we have this nice addition to Mason. About last year, we have this new initiative of robots delivering food and delivering products across Mason campus. And so if the video works, so they look like this, and they go from one building to another, bringing food or bringing supplies to the faculty and students, and especially good during some inclement weather when, you know, communication is really hard, you know, especially among dormitories. So these robots, they deliver food and they deliver some medical aid if necessary. So that was a really good thing done. So, so let me see if this video works so I can show you. Sorry, something happened. Let's try one more time.
The quality of the video is questionable, of course, but we get the general idea that, yes, you have the future there on campus.
Yeah, so something like that. So with the beginning of the pandemics, they engage robots to deliver to the senior houses and some shelters in the Fairfax city. And that was a really nice addition to what actual robots could do and what robots could accomplish. So, and as a result, there were some good publications based on the engagement, community engagement, while the city of Fairfax got help from the university and from the university-related services. So that resulted in a number of positive media impressions in Washington Post, in the Richmond newspaper, and the local newspaper. So basically, there were a lot of good publicity just based on this good initiative, and as a result, they could humanize the company who Starship Lab, who were providing those robots. And also university could get some really good feedback from the residents of the community who really appreciated what university did for people in the city of Fairfax. So to sum it up, so obviously a bunch of challenges during the pandemics, and one of them was obviously things related to political events in Washington, D.C., where there were some discussions about maybe renaming of the university and questions about the historical legacy of George Mason, but those were in a way discussed openly with the new president, and they were in fact positively reflected upon. So as a result, Mason stays. University still holds its name, and we look forward to new challenges that this pandemic might bring. But based on the first few months, it looks like we're in a good shape, and we've dealt with all of these challenges with flying colors. So yes, if you have any questions about other things related to like my teaching and how professors switched from Blackboard to Zoom, or how they used other technologies, I'll be very much happy to answer all of them.